We are a bunch of wild and crazy Cleveland Browns fans, bring you all the latest in Browns news. Tune in now. And welcome Thursday night, Fanatical Elfz Network. We're in-house. We got Steve, we got Sam, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. This podcast tonight is dedicated to our very favorite personality, whatever you want to call her, Mary Kay. We love you. We couldn't do this podcast without Mary Kay's input. And
maybe, possibly we could, I think, possibly, maybe, to borrow a few words from Mary Kay.
Oh, yes, Steve, you are so right. Probably, maybe,
could be.
Could be. We all of us dive into the whole writing business here and there. You and I, Sam, we all write, and it's just here, Mary Kay, a beat writer for the Cleveland Browns, been with the Cleveland Plain Dealer and all this. And Mary Kay does a lot of good stuff, so we'll just start with that. But she, like many writers, sometimes will like to exaggerate. And she made some headlines this week because she basically she said, nice seeing you, Nick Chubb, goodbye. And so people are up in arms who just watch and follow this team casually. And they're like, oh my God, Nick Chubb, how could they do this? And, but she's using words like maybe and probably in her stories. And so it's not true. Nick Chubb is not gone anywhere yet, so everybody can just hold on. And there you are. So Mary Kay, thank you, because we love you so much. I can't read her stuff because it's just hard, man. Guy like Steve, I know you have a very special relationship with Mary Kay. And it's just I don't know. She's does good stuff, but man, she can really be, she crosses that line where it's just very agitating, to say the least. So, all right. So, Steve, welcome. Sam, welcome. Sam, I got to say something before we go any further. Yes, this is a Cleveland Browns podcast. We are the Fanatical Elfz.
Yeah, ignore the cowboy shirt. I'm wearing it because it fits me.
Part of the Fans First Sports Network. We appreciate that. And we do have Cowboy fans that are part of Fans First. So maybe you've tuned in and you're expecting to watch the Browns, but we might have some Dallas Cowboy stuff because Sam does live in Dallas, Texas. So we will give Sam some props there and understand that it is a good looking shirt that fits him. He does have a lot of Cleveland Browns apparel, though. I do know that.
Yes, I have plenty. I just never seem to put them on whenever we're doing a show.
That's okay. And Sam, you're doing well down there in Texas tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing well. The weather's been weird. We had wind up to 60 mile per hour gusts yesterday. It was pretty crazy. It's just been really windy, and then it's been cold, but it's going to warm back up again. It's average March in Texas. But yeah, it's been nice. It's been boring with no football, but I've made it, so let's hope I can make it another 6 months.
And if you're watching our show tonight, if you're watching, give us some comments. We'll try to answer questions, or if you hear something that you disagree with, because we all have various opinions about our Cleveland Brownies, especially after this week. Steve, how's tax season, and how are things going in Nashville, Tennessee tonight?
Going fine. Tax season is what it is. It's 7 days a week until April 15th. So, it's a life choice.
Yes.
I picked this profession largely based on the fact that my late father was a CPA and my late mother started an accounting business in Cleveland, Ohio before I was born. So it's kind of like, family gig.
It's in the blood. It's in the, yes.
Yeah, it's in the blood. Except for my older brother who used to work for the state of Tennessee at the Department of Health. He retired like 2 years ago. So,
Okay.
yeah, whether we got those wins that Sam got, they were. I tell you, I have a maple tree in my front yard, and it has taken a beating this year.
Yes.
I'm going to have an arborist come out and look at it because I hope it's fine. It's like 65 feet tall and puts out great shade on the house
Wow.
in the summertime. But man, there's several more branches I've got to clean up before the next branch pickup.
Our weather up here got really cold and icy, actually. Many of our schools and such, we were in session today, but we had a surprise little ice and snow overnight, and it made for many wrecks here in the Columbus area outside of the city limits when you get into the countryside. So that made for a lot of fun driving this morning. So Mary Kay, I just want to talk about Nick Chubb for a minute before we get into some better news. She made this announcement about Nick Chubb. He is going to entertain, or at least go into the free agency or look at it a bit. Where are you both at with Nick Chubb, and do you believe that Nick Chubb is coming back as a Cleveland Brown? Sam, let's start with you. You did your show earlier this week, the Browns breakdowns, and I heard your take on it, but let's hear that again.
Yeah, I mean, if Nick Chubb he tests free agency, right? I hope he has a great success. I hope he finds a team and pulls a Saquon and has one of the greatest running back seasons ever and wins the Super Bowl, right? That's what I hope. I don't think it'll happen, but I mean, again, I've said it a million times, if you're looking at it from a purely business perspective, bringing back a person who clearly is having large problems staying healthy and performing on the field is not worth it. However, maybe the monetary gain you get from having him on the field, from the eyes he gets, from the jerseys he sells, whatever, right? I don't think it's going to equal how much you pay him, but it might because of how declining running back contracts seem to have become. Now, running back contracts are weird now because of Saquon and because of Derrick Henry. It's kind of up in the air. But from a purely business perspective, it's not worth it. But I want him back. I want him to stay on the team. But I'm worried that he's just going to come on the field in like week 10 and then play till week 13 and then tear his ACL again. And then it'll be not worth it anymore. So I do hope he comes back, but I don't know if it's going to be worth it for the Browns.
Okay. Steve, where are you at with it?
Well, he's going to test free agents. He's going to find out his market value. And right now, his market value isn't that great. Healthy older running backs market value isn't that great. It just, it just happens to be a great draft to draft a running back. So, I think they might come to a deal. It's not going to be earth shattering or anything. It's going to be loaded with incentives. He says he wants to stay in Cleveland. He says he wants to retire a Brown. I take him at his word. So we'll see what happens. But they've got to go out and find what his value is. And right now that value isn't the greatest in the world. Would they sign him? Sure. He's not going to be the lead back. He's not going to be the same back he used to be. Let's face facts. It's just not going to happen. But, the Browns keep Jerome Ford, who, despite everybody who hates him, he had a great year last year. You draft a couple running backs. I keep saying draft two. This is a good draft to do it. You get your lead dog early, like if somebody pops up in the second or your first third round pick, you grab them, and then you get another running back in later rounds. You can still get a good one in the sixth. Put them on the practice squad just in case you need them. So
who do you talking about running backs? Jumping around just a minute here. Who do you have? I mean, outside of the kid out of Boise State, who would be the second or third back you think might be available? A Marion Hampton kid out of North Carolina, is he going to be maybe the second running back to go, or could it be that Johnson kid out of Iowa, or one of the backs from Ohio State?
I think either back from Ohio State. could be the second one to go. The Johnson kid out of Iowa, the kid out of North Carolina. I mean, you can find yourself a good running back.
Absolutely.
Kid out of Tennessee, he's another one.
Yes, I had him in my last.
So
Dylan Sampson. There's also the
Dylan
kid out
Sampson.
in Oklahoma State, Ollie Gordon.
Ollie Gordon, who had a very, very good combine. So we'll see what happens. But picking a lead running back should happen before the end of the third round. Should. Just depends on how the board falls.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump over to our title. A couple things. Joel Bitonio.
Yay!
Good news this week. He did say that he's coming back. What is it for year 12?
Year 12.
So that's good news for the offensive line.
It's also good news that for everybody who's saying that the Browns are going to be in a rebuild, I doubt he'd come back if there was going to be a rebuild. All right. So he feels comfortable.
Yeah.
He feels comfortable with it. So
David Njoku is campaigning mightily to bring back Nick and Miles.
Well,
that's good.
Nick is one thing. Miles isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I tell Miles that, but he's not going anywhere.
Nick Chubb was wearing some gear the other night at the local over the weekend. There was some sort of signing thing that he did here up in the Cleveland area, and he was wearing his Browns gear. So people are hopeful that he's still wearing the gear. And I liked Rod Bloom, our colleague that does the Browns Blitz. He reposted the video of Nick Chubb when he first arrived in Cleveland at the airport. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Sam.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Steve. He's standing there to pick up his luggage, just as casual guy. They did the Hard Knocks where they were following him, and the guy didn't know who he was, and just very easygoing. That's the thing. When I listened to your podcast, Sam, and we talked about Nick, and I know I'm going back to Nick about his injuries and stuff, because you've talked about him being, a liability, or that he's getting injured. I know he had that serious injury when he was in college, and with what's happened since, obviously there's a lot of risk there. I don't know. I hope, for our sake as Browns fans, that the organization, and I think they are, that's what they're doing right now, is giving him an opportunity to go out there in the market and kind of test and see what he can get back. So I hope he doesn't leave. And if he goes to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, that would be quite sad.
Not going to the Steelers.
Not going to, though.
No. Cleveland Browns Daily interviewed the Pittsburgh beat writer.
Yeah.
And he was like, no.
Yeah.
The guy who put that online was our famous friend from Pittsburgh, Andrew Filippini, who once said,
"Oh yes,
Kenny Pickett to George Pickens will replace Montana to Rice." He'll never live that down. He also said the Steelers were going to trade for Sunshine, and Sunshine had to come out on a podcast and explain to all the Pittsburgh fans, first of all, I have a no trade clause in my contract.
Yes.
And number two, I'm staying in Jacksonville because the new head coach is coming in. So that guy just posts crap. Constant crap.
Kind of like Mary Kay? No.
That's worse. I mean, Mary Kay at least gives it an effort. Trouble is, I think Mary Kay has lost her main source inside the Cleveland Browns.
You've mentioned that before. You feel like
now she's just grabbing it. You can usually tell when she has good sources and when she doesn't have good sources. When she has good sources, she starts nailing things before national media people nail it. And when she has no sources, she's just...
Well, it's like Tony Grossi now. I like Tony Grossi, but he doesn't get information from anybody. He's always like a day behind.
So he's also got conjecture, and he also lets his personal opinion get involved. I mean, he is all for trading Myles Garrett. I listened to him briefly this morning. He and Chris Oldak and Tony
Yeah.
Rizzo try to explain the salary implications of the Deshaun Watson
Yes.
restructure, and it's like listening to three guys who know nothing about a topic talking about that topic.
Yeah. So this restructure, what is it? 30. They've opened up 36 million more.
36 million, and now they're 12.555 under the cap.
So they're under by 12 million.
Yeah, this is just the start.
Yeah.
The Browns like to go into the season with about 40, 50 million so they can carry over whatever they don't spend into next year.
Okay.
So this restructure was expected. They'll probably do it. They will do it again next year, and that'll be the last time they do it. So
okay. So people that are like, they look at the money that's being that's coming available now, and some people are saying, "Oh, the Browns are gearing up to do some big things in free agency," which starts.
They're going to do more trades than they are going to do. They're still going to be active. They're going to have the money. I mean, these guys can redo a contract like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can still convert some money from Posick and Jack Conklin and Wyatt Teller. The big key is Greg Newsome. He's got no dead cap. This is it for him. So if they trade him away, they instantly gain over $13 million.
And that's so right now, I mean, he's the hot name, like as far
he's the hot name.
What do you feel what do you think is gonna happen? You want him to be here?
Well, they did draft his potential replacement in Cameron Mitchell. That's why they drafted him.
Yeah. Sam, you
13 million for a slot corner is a little high.
Yeah.
But he is a good cover corner, and Jim Schwartz likes all his corners to be press cover corners.
Sam, do you like Newsome? You want
to? Yeah, I mean he's good, but I worry that the problem isn't. It might not be him, but the problem might end up being that there's so many other holes you might have in the defense that it's going to be hard for any one player to do much on the defense, just because you might find holes in the secondary. You know, D tackle has been a problem for a while. So yeah, he's good, but the defense is much more of a tandem than a one player kind of thing.
Okay.
Yep. And they need safeties. I mean, they need a starting safety and they need a third safety. They're all high on Ronnie Hickman. I don't see it, but you know, they know more than I do, but they've got to find, they got Grant Delpit, got to bring in another starting safety caliber player, then bring in some veterans to compete with Hickman. I'd bring DeAnthony Bell back for sure. I've always liked him. So
were there some guys, were there some people, let's jump over to the combine. I know when we talked a week ago, they were just getting started. Were there any players that to either one of you that jumped out that kind of you caught your interest more, that you might see the Browns really targeting, like especially like on the defensive side? You were talking about some safeties and corners. I mean, there's this kid out of South Carolina, big guy that everybody was talking about, I think.
Yeah, he had a lot of numbers jump off the chart. One wide receiver caught my attention, Jaden Higgins, Iowa State.
Yes.
He had a hell of a good combine. I know they talked to Phil Maffa, running back out of Clemson. He was interviewed by the Browns. Yeah.
Okay.
So was the defensive tackle from Notre Dame, Riley Mills. They also talked to him. So that may be your 6th round type of guys.
Okay. On the lower. Okay. Sam, did you watch any of the combine?
Yeah, I watched a little bit. I don't watch the combine per se. I mostly look over the people who did like exceptionally well, just see what they did, and then I usually go and find each individual each can't talk each individual player's drills, so I don't have to wait an hour watching a bunch of people I don't care about. I can just look up each player's drills and see how they did. But I haven't done a whole lot with the combine. I've just been watching game film mostly.
I was telling our colleague Lou, we had the Stirring the Pot show on Monday, and we were saying, and I think we should plan this as our network, Fanatical Elfz. Anybody that wants to meet up in Indianapolis, maybe a year from now, that would be really cool. We could have a live broadcast from Fans First. Kevin Smith of Fans First in the Pittsburgh group, that he actually came out to Indianapolis. I don't know if any of you follow him on social media, but he was there and got some really good information, got to hear some of the players. He's the one who also interviewed Kevin Stefanski last summer, which was kind of cool. So really enjoyed. Now, I know he said some things. I know, Steve, you and I had talked about where he said there was some conversation about Miles, that the Philadelphia Eagles are very interested in bringing in Miles. That was a lot of the chatter that he had heard, but I know you're shaking your head no.
There's always going to be chatter.
Yes.
I mean, right now everybody, based on the combine, thinks the Browns are in love with Cam Ward. And their only assessment is that because everybody at the combine talks about how great Cam Ward is.
Yes.
And so they do association by position.
Yeah.
They like Cam Ward. They also like Abdul Carter. So, just get used to that fact.
What about Shadir Sanders? And so where does this fall? I mean, are the Browns out on Shadir Sanders? You think if
Browns
he's there
are not in or out on anybody.
Okay.
Right now.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear anything from them. They're not even going to leak to scare people away from players. I mean, this is a buttoned up front office, and they ain't talking.
I don't know. You just get the vibe, though. You get the feel. I don't know. I get a feeling sometimes when you listen to Kevin Stefanski, I know it's the off season, but he seems to be in an upbeat mood. And
well, we discussed this last Thursday.
Yeah.
After he was interviewed on Cleveland Browns Daily, Zagura said that this is the first time in a long time he'd seen him in a good mood, and he had the look in his eye like he already knows who his quarterback's going to be.
Well, see, that's so
that didn't say draft quarterback or free agent quarterback. That's a question you've got to ask.
Right. And that free agency is coming up here Monday. I want to talk about that after the break. So let's pause here on the Fanatical Elfz Network, part of Fans First. We'll be right back. Thanks for coming back to us on the Fanatical Elfz Network, part of Fans First. There's Steve, that's Sam, and I'm John. Glad to have you aboard here. I see Steve wants to go with us to Indianapolis. Yes, Steve. We'll work on that over the next year and see what we can do. I don't know if we're ESPN Cleveland or we can provide transportation, but a bus or a plane ride. But it would be pretty cool to work on that. I know some of us here, like I said earlier, Lou and I were talking about it. And if you're in proximity of Indianapolis, I don't know, Sam, you're down there in Texas, so a little bit of a jaunt for you. But maybe you'll be driving a car by then, right? So then you can practice driving.
Yeah, just
I
do a
don't know
road
if I'm
trip.
gonna go all the way to Indianapolis, but maybe we'll see.
Indy's a great town. I've made many a trip through Indianapolis on my drive between Wichita, Kansas, and Columbus here. So
a third of my drive to Indianapolis is just trying to leave Texas.
Absolutely. Texas is just, yes, it takes 3 days to cross it from west to east.
4.5 hours from Nashville.
4.5? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're about 3 hours or less here from Columbus. So I'm seriously thinking about it. It might be that we if Kevin can get credentialed, I'm sure that we can work on that with our Fanatical Elfz or Fans First group. So we'll keep you posted, folks.
You don't want to give me credentials. They'll never let me back in the city.
Oh, you and Mary Kay are just best friends.
I know.
Steve, thanks again for following us here on the Fanatical Elves Network. And everybody, thank you for tuning in to us. If you're listening to us on Apple, Spotify, anywhere you listen to your podcast, we're there. Type in Fanatical Elves Network. You can even type in Cleveland Browns, and I believe the Fanatical Elves Network will pop up. So there you go. And thank you to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. I implore you folks out there who love coffee, go to our link on the top of our X page on the Fanatical Elves Network, and there is a link to Hemisphere Coffee Roasters. I know Sam sometimes puts it on his show.
Every time, yep.
Yep.
First thing.
But it's great coffee. And if you buy their coffee, you kick back 15% to us, lucky folks here on the Fanatical Elves. So, all right, let's talk about free agency. This is the window opens. The illegal tampering starts Monday, and then so we'll start hearing some things. I'm sure Sunday rolling into Monday. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, Monday starts the legal tampering period.
Legal. Sorry.
And then Wednesday starts the at 4:00 Eastern, so everything becomes official. So I see Steve has a question about the Titans.
Oh.
I had heard that the Titans want to sign Sam Darnold, but they don't want to do it on Sam Darnold's terms. Right now, Sam Darnold wants $50 million and a guarantee that the team who signs him does not draft a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Minnesota is thinking about re-signing him. But I have heard if they re-sign Sam Darnold, J.J. McCartney is going to ask for a trade. So right now, the Titans are an interesting case. I cannot believe they will roll back with Will Evans. I mean, Brian Callahan, local news, they show the coach after the game. Yeah. I don't know how many times he ripped Will Evans. I mean, it was painfully obvious that Will Evans is that Brian Callahan is not enamored with Will Levin, and the new GM has no connection to him. Now, the unique thing about the Titans, they do have 8 draft picks, but they go from number 1 to number 35 in the second, and they drop down all the way to 102 in the 4th.
Oh,
so
wow.
That is a huge talent gap for a team that is desperate for talent. So they will shop that number 1 pick. And it just depends on who wants to go up there and which quarterback they want. You don't know. I mean, you hear the Giants would love to get Cam Ward. Then you hear the Giants would love to get Sanders. You just don't know.
Is there any chance the Brownies
would trade up one? I don't think so. Right. Although it would only mean a pick swap and probably a 3rd-round pick, and that's all it would take.
If the Browns moved up to number 1.
That's the thing. The Titans going from 2 to 1 aren't going to get a lot of draft capital. They'll get 1 3rd-round pick and the number 2 pick in the draft. Now, maybe they could turn that number 2 pick into another draft, drop down.
I hate to say it.
And pick up more draft capital. But let me tell you, that team – they overpaid for a lot of free agents last year, like Tony Pollard and guys like that. Yeah. And those guys just didn't live up to the money. So
I get this as a Browns fan. I just get this lifelong fan. I dread these moments because it's like we shouldn't be dreading it, but I don't see the Browns holding on to that pick. Like tonight, I just feel like they're gonna trade down and not take the pick at number 2. And that's going to, I don't know what that'll do. That reaction will be like. I mean, a lot of Browns fans want the Browns to take one of these quarterbacks. But again, we have the free agency coming up right now.
I'll answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. That's why I'm very interested in seeing what happens over the next few days. Sam, what do you think Steve?
No, go ahead, Sam.
Okay, Sam, what do you think is free agency opens up for the Brownies?
I mean, free agency opened up the day the season ended. They just don't talk about it.
Sure.
I mean, everyone knows who they're looking for. Everyone knows who they're going to pick, who they're not going to pick. If you're the Cowboys, you're just going to completely ignore free agency because, they don't know how to win football games and create a good team. But, I mean, if you're looking at most teams already knew who they were going for, right? If you by the end of the season, whether that be the playoffs, if you're a playoff team, or the regular season, if you didn't make it, you knew who you were going to be looking at.
Yeah.
You knew what money you were going to have. You knew all these things pretty early. So, I mean, everyone knows who they're looking for, but I hope we sign a few guys. It's not going to be easy with our money, but these people know the cap. They know how to manipulate it to fit any situation. And so if anyone's going to be able to cram two good players into this cap, it's going to be an NFL team.
Okay.
I'm still thinking it's going to be Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I don't believe Atlanta at all is going to keep a backup quarterback at $37.5 million. He's due $10 million on March 17th. If he collects that $10 million on March 17th, he's guaranteed another $10 million in 2026. It would be cheaper to cut him and make him a post June 1st cut. That way the dead cap for this year would be 40 and for next year would be 25. So why are you going to pay him $37.5 million plus $10 million this year and $10 million next year? Last time I checked, that's $57.5 million.
Now there are just throw out a few other names here. There are been other teams and other players being released in the last couple of days, including DK Metcalf, Joey Bosa, and then there was a wide receiver you talked about this afternoon when you were on social media, Steve, a kid out of Jacksonville.
Yeah, he's their kick returner.
Okay. So Joey Bosa, where's he headed?
People think it's going to be the 49ers. I find that hard to believe. The 49ers have cap problems. And they got to sign some guy named Brock Purdy, who they've been paying really cheap since they drafted him.
Yeah. DK Metcalf.
They want a first and a third.
And the Browns,
And there are a couple teams have offered a third. I wouldn't offer higher than a fourth. That's it. Fourth round pick.
How many years?
I mean, his production has slipped the last 2 years, and it's obvious Seattle is trying to get as much cap savings as possible.
Well, there's a lot to look at pay attention to this week. We're going to find out a lot more of kind of where the Browns' thinking is once we get into the thick of things here over the next few days. That'll have a bearing on what we're talking about with the draft. You mentioned Steve. Yeah.
As for quarterbacks, if they can't get Cousins, I'd be happy with Daniel Jones. I don't know where this Carson Wentz stuff came from. Not as a starter.
Lord help us. No Carson Wentz.
I'd sign him as a backup. Why not? I mean, he's been with McVay and he's been with Andy Reid as a backup. Why not as a backup? But not as a starter. Gardner Minshew, no thank you. I know a lot of fans want Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco stunk before he came to the Browns. He came to the Browns, beat a bunch of bad teams, left the Browns, went to Indianapolis, and stunk again. He is not a mentor. He told a guy in Indianapolis who asked the question, you're now the backup quarterback. What kind of help can you give to Anthony Richardson?
Yes.
And he said, my job is not to mentor young quarterbacks. My job as a backup quarterback is to be ready to play when I'm called on.
Yes.
That's Joe Flacco. He ain't no mentor. So forget about that.
All right. I have a list here of some unrestricted free agents for the Brownies. And you've probably seen this list, but I just wanted to kind of go
Where'd you
through
get this list, John?
This is from the Brownies that came out a few days ago.
The official website?
Yeah, the official website. They released this list, so you've probably seen this. But let's just talk about a few guys here. So Jordan Akins, the tight end, is an unrestricted free agent. The Browns potentially bring him back?
Potentially, yeah.
Everything's potentially according
I
to
don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Jaguars released what was his name? Evan Ingram, their tight
Yes.
end. He intrigues me as well.
Oh, that's a interesting. Yeah. Sam, when we're doing this, are there any free agents out there that you've heard of that maybe would be you think might be interested to come to Cleveland, or you'd like to see come to Cleveland?
There's a few. I don't have any names, but really just look at D tackles and a few offensive players. It's more of a find who you can get and less of a we want these specific guys. I know they're gonna want specific people, but you just need to look at trying to fill gaps instead of trying to sign a big name or two and put them in a spot. You're just kind of trying to get a good, solid, all around lineup for now.
Okay, let me give you D tackle Maurice Hurst. Is he coming back to Cleveland? He's a free agent.
I can't see it. Where did he end up? Where did he end the season? IR.
Yes.
The
How
last
about
2 years?
wide receiver Elijah Moore? He's a free agent.
They might move on.
Jedrick Wills is listed. Tell me what I missed here. Is he's an unrestricted free agent, Jedrick Wills? Okay. Nick Harris, our center.
Possible.
Okay.
Yeah, 50-50.
Because then they'll have Posick, Luke Whippler, and Nick Harris.
Dante Foreman, the running back. Is he coming back or is bye-bye? Okay. Mike Ford, the cornerback.
Possible.
Michael Dunn, the guard, offensive lineman. Michael Dunn.
Possible. Possible. He's your emergency center as well. He'll be.
You like this
Yeah.
guy, Jaron Christian. I know, Steve, you've talked about him. Don't you like him?
No.
No. Okay. Devin Bush. That's one guy I wanted to know
Yes.
from you guys.
Yes.
Linebacker,
yes.
unrestricted
I
free agent.
definitely keep Devin Bush. Bring
Yeah.
Devin Bush back.
Tony Brown is a cornerback. Don't really know him very much.
Special teams player.
Hakeem Adenu, tackle. Hakeem Adenu.
Adeniji?
Yes, sorry.
Adeniji? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Possible.
I'm so good with names.
I mean, it's possible. They have to build depth at the offensive tackle position. I mean, they signed him last year for that purpose, and it wasn't their fault. He got hurt in training camp.
Well, Jermaine Ifedi, also a tackle.
Yeah, they also same last year. I don't know. Not too sure about him.
Now the other guy, safety D'Anthony Bell, you want back?
Yeah, I do. I like him.
He's a restricted free agent,
so he'll probably be back.
Yeah. Okay, that's my list. Those are some of the highlight. Of course, then there's Nick Chubb. I didn't mention. We'd already talked about that. His market value seems to be around $3 million from what people.
2.8 to 3 million, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
You load it up with incentives.
Yeah.
I mean, if they reduce some roster bonuses on about 4 or 5 guys, they'll have the money to. If that's the market price, they'll have the money to sign Chubb. So
okay.
But
well,
I want to mention one thing that Samuel said earlier.
Yeah.
About defensive tackle, and he's exactly right. They have to find a defensive tackle. They can draft one, but they have to sign one in free agency. They only had 7 sacks from the D tackle position last year, and 3 of them were Tomlinson. So they've got to find somebody in free agency for at D tackle. Have to.
Okay. Anybody else that the Browns, and we've talked endlessly about the 2 quarterbacks. We've talked about Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter from Colorado.
No, thank you on Travis Hunter.
Okay.
I'm just, he's not the best wide receiver, and he's not the best defensive back. He weighs 188 pounds. He's not going to play defensive back in the National Football League. Some tight end will kill him. So,
well, it's interesting though, because somebody was talking. I don't know if it was a different podcast or someone else was talking about this, because the Browns did mention him and mentioned him as a wide receiver. for them. But then in this show I was listening to prior to that statement by the Browns, they were saying that it would probably be easier to come in on the defensive end of things in the NFL, not on the offensive end. So it was the opposite feeling. Whoever I listened to, I don't remember it at the moment, but so there's nobody else out there that could be a surprise pick by the Browns if they stayed at number 2. I even heard today that the Pittsburgh Squealers like this other quarterback from, is it Louisville?
No, it's Ole Miss, Jackson Dart.
No, it was another guy. It wasn't Jackson Dart.
Oh, the Louisville quarterback?
I think so.
The 36-year-old quarterback from Louisville?
Most teams view him as a cornerback, where Browns view him as a wide receiver. Yes, Steve, that's Hemrick. That's what I had also. I don't know where I heard that.
Yeah, I had heard the opposite before all this stuff started, that he was a better wide receiver than he was a corner. And,
So there's nobody out there that you guys would be surprised by. I mean, tonight I feel like the Browns are gonna get out of that pick and move down, trade it.
Well, it depends on Tennessee. If Tennessee can't find anybody to trade up, then
so the Sam Darnold thing that you're talking about there in Tennessee, I mean, that is that's
Sam Darnold's. That's what he's looking for from every team. He wants to be the starter right out of the gate. He wants like a 3-year contract, and he wants assurances that teams, and like at the top of the draft, won't draft a quarterback as his backup. He doesn't want to compete. He wants to come in and play.
Was it Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield in Carolina a few years ago?
Yeah, Carolina had both of them.
Boy, that was an interesting moment in time.
And it's a quarterback that Tony Grossi said, all this talk about Baker Mayfield is just a smokescreen so they can draft Sam Darnold.
Yes, I do remember there was a lot of that. He's so
cunning. He talks himself out of positions quicker than anybody I've ever met. Well, just beside my ex-wife.
All right, final takes tonight. Everybody, thank you again for tuning into our Fanatical Elfz Network. We'll have lots more shows coming up. Lou Marconi's got his Burning River Brown stock later tomorrow night. Rod Bloom has his Browns Blitz coming on first thing tomorrow morning, in all likelihood. I haven't heard from Rod today, but I think he's working on that right now. Steve Gill's got his Dog Pound South. Good morning, Dog Pound South campers. We've got Sam with his Browns breakdowns.
Yes, I actually remember to text John this time.
He did. I was so proud of you, Sam. So proud of you. It's funny, Sam. I work with kids, young people your age at the high school I work at. So I talked to I'm working with a lot of my seniors. Now, you're not a senior yet, right? You're a sophomore, junior. So you're looking, maybe next year will be your last year, and then do other things after that. Yeah. Champion podcaster here, Sam. But anyway, final thoughts. Let's start with you, Sam. I know, we want to get out of here and make sure we don't see any more of your cowboy shirt. So if you are tuning in, this is a Browns podcast, but
I had to show the second most dysfunctional team in the NFL.
You're going to show you're wearing a Cincinnati t-shirt?
No,
let's talk about that. Well, I'll get to that in a minute.
It's fourth place. It's Bengals, Steelers, then Ravens, then Cowboys. Anyone in the AFC North is at least top 3.
Very good. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, final take. Unfortunately, again, there's nothing really going on right now. I guess scouting players, but I'm gonna keep my eye on Nick Chubb for as much time as possible, just to see what he ends up doing, if he comes back, if he leaves, all these different things, because there's so much going on that unfortunately it's just a hope that he comes back. But just watching stuff really is all I'm doing right now.
Good. We'll all be watching what happens to Nick. Steve.
Well, like I think we discussed this last week. It may have been the week before. This extra cap room is allowing teams to reset their financial house, per se. So you're seeing a lot of players cut or announce there will be released before, when the league year starts. You're going to hear a lot more players being released over the weekend. Like I said Monday, I have heard that the Browns are going to make several trades. Andrew Berry likes to guarantee he gets his guy. And it's I was told that it would be a tight end and wide receiver of significance, whatever the heck that means. So just keep your eyes on the ESPN ticker or whatever you got on your ESPN app. So or Bleacher Report or whoever you use. And if I hear anything, I always repost it.
I wonder if it's
C-Town Thug.
I have, there's so many options there when you say that, a wide receiver of significance.
Yeah, I know.
You think about teams that Andrew Berry works with already, like the Eagles and the Vikings, and I sort of.
Well, they got Cooper from the Cowboys and Moore from the Jets. By the way, Garrett Wilson is not going to be traded. I've heard that they're not going to trade him. They'd be stupid to trade him.
Well, they are the Jets, though.
Yeah, that is true. They are the Jets.
All right. By the way, like you mentioned briefly there, the Bungles are bungling again down there in Cincinnati. I love Cincinnati, but the Bungles stink, which is fine with us. The Sam Hubbard retired after 7 years.
Yeah.
And Hendrickson is requesting a trade.
Yeah, he's been given permission to seek a trade.
Would you like to see him in Cleveland? It's not going to happen, but would you?
It's not going to happen, but I'd love to see him in Cleveland.
Wouldn't you? That's one guy that's like, oh, he'd be good. Bring him over here to Cleveland.
He would be good, but it's not going to happen. But how can an NFL owner sit there and with a straight face look at his franchise quarterback and say, I got the money to help you. And then all this other stuff is going on.
Yeah.
And I think of the meme of the little dog sitting in the table and with fire all around him. And he's going, everything's fine.
Well, this podcast dedicated to Mary Kay is concluding now. Thank you so much for tuning into the Fanatical Elfz Network, everybody, and part of Fans First Sports. We love Mary Kay. We can't wait to see what she probably will say and maybe say next week. Sam, possibly. Sam, have a great night. Steve, good night. Farewell.
Have a great night, guys.
Go Brownies.
And go Browns. Yeah. Maybe.